All right, specifically, we're looking at the procedure of conducting a presidential election, Article 138 of the Constitution. These amendments have caused a lot of heat. Billow Kerrow, former Mandera Member of Parliament 2002-2007, and also the Senator for Mandera 2013-2017. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'd just like to read a few of the excerpts from that bill and translate them to what they would mean. The IBC could be allowed to declare results from physically delivered forms and complementary methods or mechanisms for voter identification and transmission of results, and alter the flow of the results of a presidential election with the presiding officer. So the proposal only requires that the POs send images and then personally deliver the forms. Now the constituency returning officers will collect, then also physically deliver the forms at the National Tallying Center. And lastly, I'm interested in that amendment of 39(1)(d) that adds the physical declaration of the results technically. Billow, looking at just from the face of it, does this bill take us back or does it take us forward? Is it progressive?
Well, I think if you can, when you look at any law that is brought to Parliament, there is always at the end of the bill what is the objective of this law? Is there a mischief? You make a law in order to address a mischief that is existing in the current law, something that is, you need to address. As far as I know, in the rulings that we have had in 2017 presidential petition at the Supreme Court, most of these issues now in this bill are not the issues which have been canvassed or raised by the Supreme Court in terms of when they nullified the results. So it's not very clear, one, what is the mischief that the government is trying to address by bringing this law? Two, the timing. It's always, raises concern when amendments to the rules of an election are done just a few months before the election. But having said that, I think my experience, even in the last election, where I was the chief returning officer for PAFP, what I've realized is that the current provisions are an attempt to try and circumvent some of the provisions that we have existing today. Kenyans are used to the results streaming in, directly, because we have a system of election that uses biometric system. And a presiding officer in a polling station has a gadget that he can use to transmit the results, electronically on the spot, immediately after the results have been satisfied by all the agents at the polling station. Mm-hmm. And this goes directly to the constituency. And then from there, the same thing is done again to the National Tallying Center. But I think the attempt to try and provide alternatives, to that, one, it is going to create delays. Okay. And if there's anything that will really affect security and peace in an election, yes, is when results are delayed. Okay. So any of these attempts to try and delay results really will create a lot of tension unnecessarily, and will, create a sense that there's something, that is happening. And I think that is unfortunately that's where we're headed with this, which is I'm worried about.
Yeah, very unfortunate. You've said two things. The mischief is not clear yet, and also you said the timing is suspect, very vital. But I want to take you back to something. The Deputy President's camp and Azimio La Umoja camp, they're both saying that this bill is retrogressive, but they're both giving different reasons. Now, for the Deputy President, it's supposed to help Azimio La Umoja, but for Azimio La Umoja, it's rolling back on the gains that we've made since 2007, Bill.
Yes, you see, it's not clear whom they are trying to assist, but I'm sure there must be, when such amendments come in, and they're not coming in from IBC, the IBC would have been the right entity which would have raised this kind of issues before, and they would bring it through Parliament directly. But when these things are coming from government, then of course, politicians should be worried that there must be a reason why the government is bringing these amendments without consultations with other sectors. But I think it is progressive in the sense that, to try and, for example, create an alternative way of submitting results, given that discretion to the IBC, that, you may transmit the results electronically. You have to, and you may announce the results You may announce the results. If the chairman is satisfied that the remaining, results which have not come will not affect the president. There are a number of things actually. When you look at it, you'll be worried that yes, it does change the way we've been doing things, and it does, of course, point out the fact that it's an attempt to try and create or circumvent or create some alternatives which amounts to circumvention, really. So it is in a way retrogressive.
And entrench those alternatives into law. Now, the background to the electronic transmission of results bill was the disputed 2007 election and the recommendation by the Kriegler Commission. I mean, what this proposal technically is doing is to allow the results by the IBC be announced by either, and I know you've said that's retrogressive, but what else is the danger apart from the delay thing and trying to find an alternative? What could be the other danger?
You see, Ken, even that one, last election, I was in a tallying center where the returning officer told us point blank that he's not going to use the electronic results. You have the BMR, the biometric system where the voting was done through the biometric. He needs to put on his system, and we see if somebody says a presiding officer says, I had 600 people at the polling station, and out of the 600, 300 turned out to vote. We want to see that from the biometric system. Okay. So when a returning officer who was there told us, look, gentlemen, I'm not going to use that system. I want the presiding officer to walk in with his papers, and I will announce the papers that whatever results he announces on his papers. Okay. That is the kind of discretion that this thing is giving presiding officers and others. So what will happen? He told us that presiding officer told me to my face, you can go to court if you want, but I'm not going to use the biometric system. I'm going to read out whatever a presiding officer walks in with. And I think there are concerns. For example, what surprised me is that in section 75, when the bill tries to, when you go to court for a petition, invariably the court will always find that the election was not conducted validly, and therefore a by-election it will order. But in this one, it's given the court the option to declare who has been validly elected. Yes. And it gives the court also the opportunity to announce who will be, instead of going back to an election. It gives them that. But I think also the most important, obviously, is the one for the presidential, in my concern, that these people are all concerned about. It gives the chairman of IBC that opportunity, that discretion, sole discretion to announce the results, even if part of the results have not come in, if he is satisfied. Okay. And I think, of course, then there's the issue of the inspection of registers, which people are used to, because registers, by the way, are always manipulated. Yeah. And people who are not existing can be in a register. So allowing registers for inspection is critical. And another thing that I have seen also is it allows for complementary mechanisms for identification of voters. We are used to, you go to a polling station, you either go with your ID card, your passport, or this kind of thing. Yeah. This amendment allows people to come in with, IBC to use any other
of identifying them.
Discretion. So. Okay. In a situation where the register has been tampered with, and so I think to some extent it doesn't address any of the mischiefs any of the challenges that you would think were raised either by Kriegler or by the Supreme Court. But I think it seems to be there must be some reason why they are bringing this thing.